revered and first president, Master Freemason George Washington. As a matter of fact, Masons in attendance at Washington's funeral in 1799 cast sprigs of acacia. Why? Quote, to symbolize both Osiris's resurrection, that is on earth, and Washington's imminent resurrection in the realm where Osiris presides, end quote. Meaning that they truly believed that the new president was becoming Horus. George Washington himself now rises within the underworld to become the Osiris. Let me say this very quickly. Do I have another 5 minutes? No? 3 minutes. Okay, here we go. Hey, well, all right, so when I get to let them out? Oh. When visitors to Washington, D.C. tour the Capitol, one of the unquestionable highlights is to visit the womb of Isis, the Capitol dome, where, when peering upward from inside Isis's continuously pregnant belly, tourists can see hidden in plain sight the 4,664 square foot fresco officially called the Apotheosis of George Washington. Apotheosis, of course, simply means to deify, to become a god, and by the way also explains part of the reason that U.S. presidents, military commanders, and members of Congress lay in state in the U.S. Capitol dome, because the womb of Isis is where you go at death to magically be transformed into a god and to experience apotheosis. Those who believe that the United States Capitol was founded on Christianity and visit the Capitol for the first time will be surprised by the stark contrast to historic Christian artwork, for instance, like the ascension of Jesus Christ into the heavens, when they compare that to the heaven that George Washington rises into from within the energized Capitol dome or womb of Isis, because it is not accompanied by God the Father or Jesus Christ or any of the angels you've read about in your Bible. The heaven that George Washington rises into is occupied by devils, pagan deities, figures important to Masonic belief. These include Hermes, Neptune, Venus, Isis, Ceres, Minerva, and Vulcan, of course, Satan on earth, who provides the energies of Lucifer for the hands of the Masons. All right.
The time system of the Mayan calendar is based on a uniquely different concept of time. You have to understand that first of all, and that for the Mayans, time is a factor of synchronization. Time is the universal factor of synchronization, which is very different from how we think of time.
The Mayan calendar is a system of timekeeping and cycles, and it has been proven time and time again to be perhaps one of the most accurate systems ever noted by humankind. It has tracked without fail every solar eclipse, every lunar eclipse, and even takes into account changes in the rotation and the speed of the rotation of the Earth to accommodate these.
It's not just the Mayan calendar. There's other monuments and other religions and other myths across the world that are also pointing towards this time period as being one of the most important time periods in the history of the world. That the Zep Tepi, which translates to the first time of ancient Egypt, the construction of Shambhala, according to the Tibetans, the Day of Judgment, according to the Christians and the Kabbalists, the end of time according to the Mayan calendar and the great transformation of the human species according to the Peruvian shamans were all the same event, and they were all going to happen within the time period prescribed by the Cross of Henday.
You have touched something in your research that has always interested me. I have tongue-in-cheek sort of announced my retirement already on Coast to Coast 2012 after the Mayan calendar ends. You have done some work into the Mayan prophecy. How does that relate to Stargate technology, what the Mayans were doing?
Well, in his book, Maya Cosmogenesis 2012, John Major Jenkins, who's considered one of the real authorities on the Mayan codexes and especially the 2012 date, he says that according to the Mayans, and I have pictures of one of these codexes in my Ark of the Christos book, he says that in 2012, a serpent robe is going to come out of the central spiritual sun, the center of our Milky Way galaxy. And 9 enlightened God beings are going to emerge from this serpent robe. Well, what I did, I took out the archaic term serpent robe and inserted a current or modern technological term, wormhole. And said, well, it fits the story.
What about solar flare? Would that work?
Solar flare could work as well, because the solar flares are, in some people's opinion, caused by bursts coming from the central sun, from the center of the galaxy, and they do contain wisdom. There's no question about it. When the astronauts in the first Apollo missions first blasted into Earth's orbit, they had to have special shields designed for them because these cosmic rays kept pinging off their retina. And when they did that, they started hallucinating symbols. The very same symbols that had been drawn on ancient rocks going back to 50,000 years in Australia and appear throughout various mythological systems, including that of the Illuminati.
That's weird. I didn't know that.
It's incredibly weird. And so this is the basis for my book, The Healing Sun Code, that at the time, as we align with the central spiritual sun, the Mayan prophecies and others say there will be a new light, and this comes out of the Bible too. There will be a light that enlightens every man, and contained within this light is a symbol system. And it turns out, this is what gets even stranger, George, when anthropologists and others looked into this, they came to the conclusion that these symbols are not only emerging from the central sun, they are also hardwired into our DNA. So theoretically, what they're saying is that all the sacred wisdom of the central sun, the place from whence the ancient shamans said our souls came, is embedded within our DNA, waiting to be activated.
Well, maybe that's also why whenever we get solar flare eruptions, it really, I think, plays havoc with our electromagnetic systems within our own body.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. We're all broadcasters and receivers of wisdom and knowledge that comes in the form of these cosmic rays. We're walking antennas. And so when we have these solar flare disruptions and other activities such as that, there's no question that it's having an effect on us.
That year 2012, does that mean that's it for all of us? We better check out, or is that the beginning of something brand new?
No, they tell us that it's definitely the beginning of something brand new. And think about it. If, let's just say, it might take, there is a wormhole does open in 2012, and some enlightened beings do emerge. We're talking about the reopening of the gate of the Garden of Eden that was slammed shut so long ago.
As we have seen, as time changes, the signs of the zodiac also change, and so too does the light that reaches our eyes. The quality of light dictates the quality of time. This knowledge was well known to our ancestors, and they lived as if their lives depended upon it, and indeed it does. The Kabbalists tell us that at the end of time there is what is known as the tikkun, or the restoration of the world. Through the performance of right action, holding to the truth, integrity, and compassion, each individual assists in the great spiritual effort in which all opposites are reunited and perfection is restored. The sacred sparks of the divine, the angelic powers that have been weighted down as the 4 ages progress,